So this took place a few years ago, back in 2017, to one of my friends who went to a concert. She was going there with her best friend, and of course, I'm leaving them anonymous for obvious reasons. They were both in their early 30s when this happened, and they loved going to concerts, and they had been going to them for a long time. They loved going to the concerts as it just gives them an opportunity for them to get out of the house more often and gives them something to do. However, they went to this one concert that was held in New York City, and this was honestly one concert that they would not want to remember. To make a long story short, I think it might have been a One Direction concert, but I just can't remember what concert they went to see. They went to the concert that happened to be a really good one. As the concert went on, one of my friends had lost her other friend, as she had happened to be somewhere buried in the crowd of people. As she was trying to get back to her friend, she honestly was suddenly grabbed by a man. This man eventually just said, "Hey, what you doing?" Of course, my other friend, who was just really uncomfortable as she's never seen him before, saying that she was just looking for her best friend. It all seemed normal at first glance, however, that's just only the beginning of it. The man explained, and he happened to be in his 40s, saying that he could help her look for her friend. However, though, my friend right here was not having it. She ended up trying to walk away, but the man kept following her. And after a little while, she ended up finding her best friend, who happened to be only near the bar. Now, the man obviously walked away, but her best friend asked her some questions like, who is that man? What was he trying to do? Etc. Obviously, my friend explained that he was trying to somewhat like kidnap her, but however, though, they reported to security and they ended up giving the best description of the man that one of my friends could give. However, though, there was nothing they can really do after they searched the whole concert. They never saw that man and never even got any updates about him. It wasn't until a couple days later when a news report happened that this same man who was at the concert had been luring teenagers and young adults to his car where they ended up having gone missing for a while. Honestly, this was definitely the strangest encounter with this man that my friends had, but they had no idea why he was going around trying to lure people into his car. Honestly, this was definitely something he never expected to happen, but he wonders what would have happened to one of my friends if they had went with that man. Honestly, something bad would have potentially happened, but they're not too sure to this day if that man is still around and still kidnapping people, but they certainly do not want to know. One of my friends, who used to be a security guard for concerts, as this happened back in 2019. His name, we'll call him by the name Oliver, happened to be a security guard, and he had done night shifts where he was a security guard for concerts. He had been doing this since 2012, and it was a side job at the time since he worked the main day jobs, but he did take on some concerts as a security guard part time. Eventually, though, one of these days, he ended up witnessing something really odd, and it didn't seem good. He was in New York City, but of course, he was living there until he ended up going to assist in a concert that was in Michigan. While he was in a concert in Michigan, he noticed that there was at least a couple of people who were around the concert when it was going on. Now, Oliver saw that there was this one woman who looked really drunk. She ended up walking up to him and asked if he knew where her friend was. Honestly, Oliver had no idea what she was talking about, so she ended up saying that there was no one by that name she knew, so he ended up just she ended up just walking away from him. Honestly, this woman didn't seem normal. She looked visibly drunk. That is when Oliver decided to go and alert the other security guards, and they had decided to escort her out of the they escorted her sometime out of the concert as she had been really drunk and looking, and it turns out that she had been taking drugs, most of them being illegal drugs, as she was mentally unstable to the point where more people had noticed this whenever she goes to public places. She had never been back to that concert since, and Oliver's never seen that woman again. He still works as a security guard to this day, but however, this is definitely one story that he knew that this woman was something mentally not right. This happened to one of my best friends, which her name was Charlie at the time of this story. Charlie was about 17 years old, and this took place back in 2015. She went to a concert, which I believe it was a One Direction concert, and she went there with a couple of her friends. When she was at the concert on One Direction, she really loved the concert. It seemed as if everything seemed to be going normal and nothing bad has ever happened. However, one of these concert nights, she honestly didn't even know what was going on. She was getting drunk at one of the bars that was in the concert. Of course, it was not she was at drinking underage, but she looked as if she was in her 20s. And of course, her friends were able to get through it with fake IDs. I know, she wasn't really the best kid back then, but whatever. As Charlie was drunk, unsure of what was going on, she ended up going to the bathroom for a minute. When she came back and had a drink of one of her drinks, when she ended up taking another sip of one of her drinks. However, in the concert, she was cheering on One Direction and still going on until all of a sudden she was starting to get woozy. One of her friends notices it as Charlie tried to stay afloat. At first, Charlie thought that maybe she was just tired since it was late that night, but however, she blacked out. Fast forward to hours later, Charlie wakes up in the hospital, and it turns out that someone had spiked her drink with some drugs and knocked her out for hours. Honestly, they didn't know who was the one who spiked her drink, but this is one of the reasons why Charlie does not drink alcohol at bars anymore, because stuff like that can happen to anybody as long as you're not paying attention. This is why I encourage everybody to please pay attention to your drinks and never leave them out of your sight, even if you are going to be gone for a minute, because that could definitely save your life if you pay attention to the drinks. They're still not sure to this day who that man was that must have done it, or a woman, but honestly, Charlie has never went back to the concert since then, as she had still get those flashbacks to this day.